City Council to commit to working towards defunding and abolishing the Portland Police Bureau entirely.
Leaders made promises.
We propose to redirect over $7 million from the Police Bureau.
But now, the pendulum has swung, and some are saying things have changed.
Portland's rate of gun violence has increased faster than many of our peer cities.
They say crime is getting out of control, and they need to do something about it. So will that mean more resources going back to the police? In some cases, yes.
The net loss of 495 officers in 1 year from our state, I think, is pretty indicative of a staffing crisis.
Here's the story.
And I'm Ashley Korslund in for Pat Doris tonight. Welcome to The Story. By the way, all the ways to get in touch with us are at the bottom of your screen. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com. Use the hashtag TheStoryKGW on Twitter or leave us a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090. Tonight we are talking about policing and what local leaders are doing in light of rising crime. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler has declared a state of emergency this week after a new report showed that Portland's gun violence has gone up faster than similar cities of this size. The report shows an increase of more than 200%. So how do we stop it? If you ask some people, they'll say you need more police. Others will say police don't really help reduce crime and that they should be defunded. These people say there are other solutions to solving violence, like investing into community groups to create long-term change. Well, Portland's mayor is now trying to ride that line. The city is trying to fill hundreds of police positions over the next few years. And this is after taking millions away from the police budget 2 years ago. Wheeler says he doesn't think people want to defund the police anymore.
I think that public sentiment has changed. I think there is an acknowledgement that good policing does not necessarily equal less or no policing. Good policing still requires law enforcement professionals, but how they do their job also matters to us. So that means they have to be transparent, they have to be accountable as much as possible. The makeup of the police bureau should reflect the community that it serves.
Okay, so what do Oregonians think of defunding the police? According to a July 2021 poll, so last summer, this was conducted statewide by the Oregon Values and Belief Center, 27% of respondents from around the state said they strongly or somewhat support eliminating their local police departments. Instead, they wanted to send those funds directly to community groups or social workers. On the other side, a whopping 67% said they oppose eliminating police, and 7% said they weren't really sure. However, 53% of Oregonians said they support reducing some police funding. Well, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler is trying to make both sides happy now. He is trying to hire new police officers, but he's also announcing a plan to try and reduce gun violence with targeted intervention by community groups. He wants to aim that energy at specific parts of the city. Here's Evan Watson to explain.
Emergency declarations can get results that the status quo just can't.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler has announced emergency action for the city's gun violence crisis.
Portland's rate of gun violence has increased faster than many of our peer cities, 207% since 2019.
Wheeler says his Safer Summer PDX plan focuses on connecting with people who are most likely to be affected or participate in gun violence, based on data from the past 3 years of shootings. City leaders say this is a proactive step that they will use in shooting hotspots around Portland, rather than focusing on arrests or prosecutions. Portland will use community-based outreach workers, not law enforcement, to handle interventions.
I have lived experience in the realm of gun violence. Shootings and homicides have greatly impacted myself, those around me, and my community. Our team will work with community members that are most impacted by gun violence to help break this cycle.
Kendall Ashley says he believes this approach is the right way to address this surge in gun violence.
Our 3 objectives of the summer efforts are to engage and persuade those most likely to shoot not to shoot, engage those on the fences to participate in social activities to keep them off the streets and to keep them from roaming or interacting with these people that are shooting, and then invest in neighborhoods and communities that are most impacted by gun violence.
A study of Portland shootings found about 200 people are responsible for the majority of the city's shootings, and most are group-related, which include gang involvement. Gun killings and shootings more than doubled in Portland between 2019 and 2021. Wheeler said his indefinite emergency declaration allows the city to better centralize its resources.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, what we will be judged by in those neighborhoods is, do they see a decrease in gun violence? If they do, they'll know the program's working. If they don't, they'll know it isn't. And they'll hold us accountable for it. I guarantee you that.
Evan Watson, KGW News.
All right, Evan Watson joining us now. And Evan, how will the city gauge whether this program works?
So we know homicides more than doubled and shootings more than tripled between 2019 and 2021. With that said, I asked Mayor Wheeler why this plan sets a benchmark of a 10% reduction in gun violence over the next 2 years. Wouldn't it need to be much more significant to counteract those recent gains in the violence? He said that number is just a baseline and the city hopes to do much better, but as of now, that's the listed goal for this program.
Okay, and as we talk a lot about the rising crime and continued efforts to staff up the Portland Police Bureau, Evan, are they getting any closer to hiring more officers?
Some good news there. 16 new officers, 1 chaplain, 6 new professional staff members, and 1 PS3 sworn in just yesterday. They're part of the 300 additional Police Bureau staff they want to hire over the next 3 years. Here's Police Chief Chuck Lavelle on what he sees is missing.
We need investigative bodies, detectives. We move people from cold case and property crimes to focus on just this huge rise in gun violence. But that's important work, too, that needs to get done as well. So we're always looking to hire new people that want to come in and have a heart for service and want to serve the city. Portland's a great place to come do it. Lateral officers and other places that are looking for another opportunity, we're happy to welcome them as well. But I think for us to really do the things that we need to do as a police bureau and give the service that we want to give to our community, we're going to need the proper staffing to do it.
All right, Evan, thank you for that report. You know, crime rates are not much better up in Washington. In fact, a new report shows the state saw a dramatic spike in violent crime last year and now has the lowest police staffing rate in 40 years. This report comes from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. It shows that from 2020 to 2021, violent crime went up 12% in Washington. Murders jumped about 6% with 325 murders that year. Robberies increased by 10%. Now, drug offenses and drug-related arrests dropped significantly. They are down 61% and 73% respectively. Leaders say this is mostly due to a decision last year in the state legislature which completely changed the ability to charge a criminal offense for personal possession of any drug. All right, let's localize these numbers a little bit. Let's look at data from the Vancouver Police Department. In 2021, murders increased 140% across the city. Drug and narcotic violations were down 77%, and overall crime went up almost 27% over 2020. Now, here's the other big issue right now. While crime is up in Washington, the number of police officers has dropped dramatically. The state says it lost about 500 officers in 2021. The per capita rate of officers to state residents is now the lowest since the organization started tracking data that was in 1980. From resignations to retirements to police budgets that were slashed by millions during the defund the police movement, it is all contributing to this. The Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs says we now have an officer staffing crisis, and some would say a public safety crisis in Washington. And they put a lot of the blame on low morale caused by a lack of support for police. Many people simply don't want to work in this profession anymore.
Part of it is just general frustration and feeling a lack of support, which I think is true in a lot of areas, certainly in Washington State, but in other states as well. I think part of it is whether this is perceived as a great place to be a law enforcement officer. And I think we have to get to a place where this is a good place to be a law enforcement officer. If they don't feel like they can provide justice for victims, that's incredibly frustrating. And it goes against everything that law enforcement, everything that law enforcement wants to do, and the reason that they join this profession. And I think, in my opinion, that is the greatest reason that some folks are leaving. It shouldn't be acceptable to anyone that violent crime has gone up as much as it did in the past year. We need to begin to work together, every community, every agency, our elected officials, our communities, to bring that down and to provide justice for victims the best we can.
So where do we go from here? Many agencies are already offering up to $30,000 in hiring bonuses to get new officers just to sign up. Well, Washington Governor Gov Inslees has one idea that may help get new recruits on the street faster. He announced it yesterday.
In order to address this shortage of police officers, I'm announcing today that I will be proposing a significant expansion of our Criminal Justice Training Commission to offer basic law enforcement training at new regional campuses across the state of Washington. We want good training where you live in the state of Washington. These new campuses,
surrounded there by law enforcement leaders from around the state. Governor Inslees announced plans to expand the state's law enforcement training campus. He says it'll help with hiring, expedite training, and attract more diverse candidates. Inslees says right now there are 134 recruits waiting for a training spot at the academy up in Burien, and they wait an average of 4 months just to get started. Then it takes another 19 weeks or so to finish. This proposal looks to add regional training centers in Pasco, Everett, Bellingham, and Vancouver. The governor's plan could take years to implement if approved, and there's no firm cost yet either, so stay tuned for developments. We asked the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability about this new report detailing the rising crime and police staffing levels. We got this statement. They say that they see data being misused to make people feel afraid and unsafe in their communities. They told us, quote, "We haven't seen a connection between police staffing levels and crime reduction. We worry about tough on crime rhetoric being used as dog whistles in ways to promote racially biased policing models. This is not the time to roll back police accountability measures or to increase police access to violent tactics." Well, we have had a few hot days already this summer, but we're heading into our biggest, hottest stretch in the next few days here. Temperatures are supposed to pass 100 degrees and stay that way for a couple of days. That could put people in a dangerous position if it doesn't cool off much overnight. Joe Ranieri is here to explain. Joe.
Well, Ashley, over the last couple of weeks, the warmest day we've seen so far this summer is right around the upper 90s, 99 late in June. Now, heading into next week, our temperatures are going to be right around the upper 90s for at least 5-6 days in a row. Right now, we're looking at a temperature of 77 degrees, but as we look at the weekend forecast, Saturday, we're going to be seeing temperatures in the low 80s. We'll slowly start to see our temperatures warm up closer to 90 degrees heading into Sunday, and then basically starting Monday and beyond of next week, we're going to be seeing some very warm conditions. Next week, the hottest stretch of summer so far. I'm forecasting daytime highs anywhere from 90 to 95 starting on Monday. Heading into Tuesday, it gets even hotter. There's a chance basically starting from Tuesday through Thursday of next week, we see temperatures right around 100 degrees. And again, our temperatures aren't going to be cooling off a whole lot heading into the overnight hours, right around the mid to the upper 60s. So here's a look at what the heat wave is going to look like starting on Monday. 95 degrees. Now the record is 100 degrees. For Tuesday, right around 100 degrees. So I think if we see any records fall, it'll be Tuesday. I don't think we're going to be seeing temperatures go above 101, 102 heading into the middle part of next week. Regardless, it is going to be downright hot over the next couple of days. You can see from the Climate Prediction Center, they're expecting to see throughout much of the Pacific Northwest temperatures above average, basically from the rest of this month all the way into the early part of August. Right now, there's no watches and warnings, but again, the setup for this hot stretch of weather isn't just going to be impacting the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be impacting the entire country. As we look at some of these watches and warnings across the lower 48, you can see basically from the East Coast to the Midwest, they're going to be under some kind of watches and warnings over the next couple of days. And again, looking at long range models, Ashley, it doesn't look like we see any big cool down heading until the next several days. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a setup with temperatures above 90 from next week all the way into the end of the month.
Yeah, get ready for it. All right, Joe, thanks.
In North Portland, a homeless camp tucked away behind the trees. People living there pay rent, and they call it an oasis.
It's safe. It's behind fences.
And this is city property?
It says it is, but I'm taking over.
Why they say going to a city-sanctioned camp doesn't work for them when the story continues.
Foot traffic? Our shoe gurus are trained to help you find the shoe of your dreams.
I'm the one for you and you're for me. We decided to try to get on the inside to show the public what was really going on because it's real life. It's really happening. I wanted to get it right. Get it right for the viewers, get it right for the people in the hospital. I felt like they were trusting us with their story.
For a clean that leaves you satisfied,
call 1-800-STEAMER.
Mom! I got the scholarship! Oh my God, I can't believe this!
If you donated to Huddle Up for Oregon, you helped make this happen.
I think I get to go to the school that I want to go to.
Wow, that's amazing. Holy
Huddle Up for Oregon is giving hope. It's raising money for scholarships and providing meaningful mentorship to students who truly deserve it. So the next time you're at Safeway or Albertsons, please donate and help the future leaders of Oregon.
You don't have to wait to get a look you'll love in your home. At Creative Interiors and Design, our inventory is bigger and better than ever. Living room, bedroom, dining, and accessories.
Come in today and let us help you create a look you'll love.
Get the right bed the first time at BedMart. Hurry in now and find your perfect bed with a free Smart Match sleep analysis. And save up to 50% off top-rated mattresses. In stock and ready for free delivery. Be BedSmart. Shop BedMart.
They may want an SUV that gets excellent gas mileage. They may want the standard four-wheel drive. They may be attracted by the sensible price.
But whatever the reason, people have been coming here to Landmark to buy Ford EcoSports.
With an innovative standard safety canopy, easy-to-use tech, and a fuel-efficient engine with impressive power, there's a lot to feel good about EcoSport. Drive an EcoSport today at Landmark Ford and Tigard. Landmark, where your satisfaction is our main concern.
Now's the time for cleaner indoor air with an air duct cleaning from Stanley Steamer. You've known us for carpet cleaning, but we've been cleaning air ducts for over 20 years. We do things the right way, cleaning your entire system. So if you need an air duct cleaning, call 1-800-STEAMER today.
Hey, welcome back. Keep sending your questions and your comments to thestory@kgw.com or give us a call and leave a voicemail at 503-226-5090. Well, we know living on the streets isn't easy, and often we see people band together to try and stay safe and support one another. In North Portland, a group of people have taken over a chunk of city land, and they've created what they're calling an oasis. They even pay rent to live there. But people at nearby businesses say that it's causing problems. Blair Best reports.
At first glance, this section off North Columbia Boulevard is nothing special. But hidden behind these trees and gates is a homeless encampment with more than 50 cars, RVs, and tents.
It's just one camp here. I don't know whose it is, but
Virgil Atkins works nearby.
More camps back here.
He and the loud hum of generators guides us through the makeshift village.
It's gotten bigger. It was only a few campers at first. Now it's whole neighborhoods.
To the outside eye, it looks just like any other encampment. But for those living here, it's much more.
This is Gracie's Oasis, and it's supposed to be a easygoing community.
Gracie's Oasis. I'm working on a sign.
This is Angel Grace Brown. She runs the camp.
I've been watching this place for about 3 or 4 years.
Now about a dozen people live here, each paying Brown about $200 a month in rent, some of which goes towards camp maintenance.
It's safe. It's behind fences.
And this is city property?
It says it is, but I'm taking over.
She's put up no trespassing signs and chains to try and keep people out.
We don't allow people to be in here stealing and doing anything that's illegal.
We're just trying to make a safe haven for us away from the city because they're not treating us well at all.
What about all the shelters and other organized villages that the city provides?
For how long do they provide it though? And then they're right back out in the street again.
Oh, they connect people with social services and there's outlets for people to get help.
There isn't. You're looking at a person that couldn't get any help.
Epidemic. Basically an epidemic.
Atkins has watched the camp grow. At night, he parks his truck next door at Kurt's RV Storage. It's been stolen twice, along with $2,000 worth of tools.
That's what I use for my business. I mean, that's how I make my living.
We're at a loss right now.
Jeffrey White's family runs the nearby storage yard.
Our customers on the RV side are having their RVs, the gas is being taken out, the catalytic converters are being taken. Some RVs have been broke into.
They've reported this to police and every city official.
Nobody wants to even respond.
The Portland police said handle it yourself, don't call us.
Nobody's been up there stealing anything. Anything that was stolen was from a long time ago.
The city tells KGW they assessed this site last week and determined it was a high-risk site. It has since been added to their removal list, an impending fear for those who call this place home.
We take care of each other and we're not trying to cause trouble.
I don't think I'm doing anything wrong.
The city assesses hundreds of high-risk campsites like this one each week. And right now, they know of 776 high-risk campsites across the city. And they only have the resources to remove 50 a week. In North Portland, Blair Best, KGW News.
Well, still ahead here, we're talking about organ donation with the creators of a new documentary made here in the Northwest. Why they say it's important to have conversations with your loved ones about organ donation and to do it sooner rather than later. That's when the story returns.
Orthopedic mattress designed to help make aches and pains a thing of the past.
Shop now at Riegelman's Appliance.
Buy and sell gold, silver, coins, jewelry, and diamonds at Liberty Coin and Currency.
Mystery in Paradise.
She said she didn't want us to try to stop her.
A series of secrets to be discovered.
This was an investigator's worst nightmare.
Dateline's hottest July ever. Fridays at 10/9 Central on NBC.
American speed, there's nothing like it. And this generation has it. Chasing history with the whole world chasing them. The World Track and Field Championships, coverage presented in part by Xfinity.
First, Joe Kent admitted he dramatically cut Social Security and raised the retirement age. Now, here's Kent vowing to end Social Security as we know it.
Privatize it.
Kent would privatize Social Security, gambling seniors' benefits on the tanking stock market. Worse, Kent would defund local police.
Law enforcement grants. I would cut that off cold.
Jamie Herrera Butler protects seniors, and she's endorsed by our local police.
I'm Jamie Herrera Butler, and I approve this message.
Save up to 50% off clearance, outlet, overstock, and as-is inventory during our summer clearance. Save $300 on a Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress set, plus 18 months no interest. Standard TV and appliance. Best service, best selection, best people.
Attention Republicans. The Democrats are up to their old dirty tricks. And Joe Kent is not who you think he is. So here's the facts. Just last year, Joe Kent was living in Portland, Oregon. He was a registered Democrat, voted for Bernie Sanders, and he even praised Bernie's socialist ideas. Don't let the Democrats win. Just say no to Joe Kent. WFW Action Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Save up to 50% off clearance, outlet, and more during our summer clearance. Save $440 on a Maytag top-load laundry set, just $11.58, plus 18 months no interest. Standard TV and appliance. Best service, best selection, best people.
Many of us have thought about becoming organ donors. Maybe you've even received a donation or had a loved one become a donor. The staff at Donate Life Northwest says the need is huge, and they say don't wait to talk about it with your loved ones. That's the new subject of a new documentary they made. Brittany Falkers talked with them this week for Straight Talk.
When we are in moments of crisis, that is not the time to be making these big decisions. We need to have these conversations with our friends and families now, when we're thinking about issues about our health, our community, our impact, and the legacy that we want to make. So having these conversations early on will make the whole process much more impactful and really bring awareness to the community.
And that's really the mission of this documentary. Amy, you are the executive producer of this documentary titled A Donation Conversation. So how important, just like Jackie said, is it to start this conversation, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's incredibly important to have those conversations with your family and with your friends, and making sure that you understand what your loved one's decision is and they understand your own. This film really showcases all the different conversations that can happen. You know, one of them is registering to be a donor and having those conversations before you get to the DMV, but there's so many other conversations that you see throughout this film. the conversation that happens between the organ procurement organizations and the families when they're making those decisions, such as Jackie said, in a very crisis situation, that can be very difficult. And so if you're having those conversations before you're in those situations, it makes it much easier to make those decisions and to honor the decision that your loved one has made.
The documentary also features the Dieter Robinson family. Their daughters, Anna and Abigail, were killed in Forest Grove in 2013. They were hit by a car while they were playing in a leaf pile. The family was able to donate some of Anna's organs. You can watch this full conversation tonight on Straight Talk at 7 o'clock, or you can watch it on our KGW YouTube page. For this week's Hey Help campaign, we are asking you to donate to Bags of Love. It's a Eugene-based nonprofit that supports children suffering from abuse, neglect, poverty, or homelessness. Bags of Love provides the kids essentials like clothing, toiletries, toys, books, school supplies, and blankets. If you'd like to donate, just grab your phone, open the camera up, and point it right at the QR code on the screen. Or you can go to kgw.com/heyhelp. This is a micro donation drive, so feel free to give any amount, no matter how small. All right, keep sending your questions and your comments to the story at kgw.com. We'll finish the show with a tribute to Oregon's exploding whale from Portland's weirdest baseball team right after this.
KGW Weather is sponsored by the completely redesigned Chevy Traverse.
It's your journey. Own every mile in the Hyundai Santa Fe. The 2022 Santa Fe comes with complimentary maintenance and America's best warranty. Vehicles arriving daily. See your Pacific Northwest Hyundai dealer.
Aggravated assaults up 47%. Car thefts up 176%. But Joe Kent would defund our police.
Federal law enforcement grants. I would cut that off cold.
Catch that?
Cut that off cold.
And he'd defund federal law enforcement too.
Also cutting off federal law enforcement funding.
Joe Kent, dangerously wrong on crime. Dangerously wrong for Congress. Conservatives for a Stronger America is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Chevy Silverado. It's got the power you want and the capability you need to do the job, so you can get to the important work. Find new moments, find new roads. Northwest buyers enjoy the open road and make no monthly payments for the rest of summer on all Silverado pickups. Plus, get 2.49% financing when you finance with GM Financial. See your Northwest Chevy dealer.
I've known Betsy Johnson for over 20 years. When Betsy says she'll get something done, you can count on it. To solve the homeless crisis, we need more gutsy, straight-talking leaders. Betsy helped make it possible to turn this never-used government building into a place of shelter, recovery, and hope. What Betsy knows and what we do every day is when you lead with compassion and accountability, we can save lives and clean up our streets.
Paid for by Run Betsy Run, Committee ID 3591.
We are keeping Portland weird tonight. It's Oregon's favorite ill-fated giant marine animal, and it was the center of attention at this week's Portland Pickles baseball game. So the Pickles decided to make their own whale. You can see how huge this thing is, and then they blew it up on the field. It was actually someone's job to make this whale. If you have somehow never heard of the tale of the exploding whale, well, it involved a whale that washed up on the beach near Florence back in 1970, and local officials thought the best way to get rid of it was to literally blow it up. And it went about as badly as you can imagine. Why don't you just look up some news reports from back then? You can see for yourself. But the whale has lived in infamy in the Northwest ever since, obviously. That is quite a sight. Well, that's the end of our show. Thanks so much for watching. The news at 6:30 starts right now.